for watching this. You're catching the replay. Thank you so much for watching. So we're going to make this card right here. I think he's super adorable. I've done some prep work outside of the camera, and that is I've gone ahead and stamped and embossed my white daisy sheet. So I've done this in white pigment ink with white embossing powder. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink the background and kind of like an ombre effect to kind of give this little color, like almost like a night winter sky, if you will, is somewhat of the effect that I'm going to go for here. We're going to do some more embossing with our white daisy on this vellum. Yeah, good. The only difference we're going to do with this, we're going to change it up, and instead of embossing and heat embossing the edges with silver, I'm just going to use gold foil paper for my backdrop. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to tape this off, and it's just more to hold my paper in place than it is for anything else. So whenever I use my washi tape to hold down paper, it is a little tacky. So if I don't want my paper to rip, I just sort of kind of like you do with your stamps. It just kind of takes some of that tack off, you know. So I'm just going to put it down here. And again, this is just to really just more or less hold my paper in place for me. So the inks that I'm going to use to create my winter sky are going to be Sapphire, Black, and Glacier. So here's my black, my Pacifica, and my Glacier. So I'm actually going to start with Glacier first. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to kind of work my way up a little bit. And then I'm just going to kind of blend in. So I'm going to just do a circular motion like this. Now you could also use daubers for this. I find that when I need to do a huge space or a larger space, that something bigger works well for me. And this is what works for me. So this is what I use, and this is what I like to use. So I recommend that you use what is comfortable for you. If you just need to wipe the ink off, you can just take a small, that's my handy dandy Seen Better Days old cloth diaper. So we're going to do this. The next color is going to be my Sapphire. That's going to come in here. I'm going to put these right here so I don't get them too mixed up. It is pretty dirty to do this. Dirty by mean. So I'm going to come in this way with my Sapphire all the way down like this. I'm just going to go light-handed once I get into this Glacier part. And really kind of heavy in the middle, and then like I said, light-handed. And I'm going to come back through. So this is going to be really pretty. I like how the ink doesn't soak into that white embossing, and it just sort of sits on top, so it's really easy to just wipe it away so you can kind of see your work at hand. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with some black, and I'm going to go over this one more time, so this isn't like the final, but I really want to get that night sky. And I could come in with a really pretty deep purple instead of a black, but this works just fine. Hello, hello, hello. So I'm just going to kind of help blend some of these in. Ooh, it's looking good. I'm going to go one more time in with that Glacier at the bottom. And then I'm just going to kind of wipe some of this away so it can reveal, and it's the white embossing that I went ahead and did already. Great. Okay, so I can peel this away. I'm happy with the blending results. This is really effective, the washi tape, if you want to leave a white border. It looks pretty. And so I'm going to set this aside so this can dry a little bit before we start to mess with it. And go ahead and create our little piece that's going to go right here in the center. So we're going to do some more embossing with that, and I'm just going to kind of rub some of this ink off. Real quick. Okay, so we're going to need to make a circle, and I didn't do that off camera. I should have done that. Oh well. So I just need my cuddle bug, my handy dandy trusty cuddle bug. And I did try to do my sentiment in black just to see how it would look, and it doesn't look good at all. So we're definitely going to keep it in the white. I really think the white makes it pop really, really well. So I'm going to use the middle circle. This is the largest one in the sets that I have, so we're going to use this one. I think it's a little bit over 2 inches, and I need to cut this down. To the side, cut this down. 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut my vellum at 2 1/4. And then however long that piece was doesn't really matter. And then I can just center this at the bottom, run it through. Now what I did to make it adhere so it pops up, I'll show you in a little bit. It's kind of tedious. You definitely don't have to do that. Maybe we won't on this one, we'll see. Okay. So I'm going to cut this down. What I'm going to cut this down is to just basically the stamp size. So I need to kind of get it straight here. So it's about, the stamp is about 3 1/2. A little bit, just a little bit bigger than 3 1/2. Oops, don't look at that. And then we'll trim up this edge just to kind of straighten it up because I stamped it just a tad bit crooked, which once we get this on here, it's really not going to be that big of a deal. And so you're looking at about 4.75 by 3 1/2. Okay, so this is going to go in here. This is going to go over here. It's going to be really pretty. I'm going to grab a card base. So I got to clean this because last time I didn't clean this and I tinted this pink. Still works great though, but I don't think I want to tint it any black. That would be bad. So just get some of these fuzzies off. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to go ahead and do this in white embossing powder, and I want to be kind of quick about it since it's on vellum and it's not really a good porous surface. So I just went straight up, straight down, and you have to be so careful because if you move it, oh, it smears everywhere. So I used Ranger white extra fine embossing powder. And I use the white a lot, so that's why I have it in its own like big container. Now, fun fact with vellum, I don't know if you know this, but if you stamp on it with regular watercolor ink and you act pretty quickly, doesn't have to be super quick, you can emboss on it in any like a clear embossing. So if you did, let's say a sapphire, it's blowing, sorry, a sapphire ink and you did a clear embossing powder, then it'll be, so if you use now I don't have to scream. So if I decided that I wanted this in Sapphire and I don't have Pigment ink, I can just, because it's on vellum, stamp in my watercolor ink and then put clear embossing powder, and it comes out just beautiful. Just as if it was. That's a pretty cool trick. Because the vellum's not so porous and it sits on top like that, you're able to do that. All right, so I'm gonna add our adhesive. My little adhesive chirps to me. Talks to me. I swear it talks to me when I use it. It has to. I'm going to center this as best as I can without hitting the phone. Super pretty. Oh, that looks so good. This is going to go on here. Another adhesive. Again. Ribbit, ribbit, chirp, chirp. Maybe just some in the middle for good luck. Now, I always like to line, whenever I'm doing a full coverage on my base, I always like to line it up on the edge. That way, if I, for some reason, cut this paper wrong and I need to trim it so that it doesn't show like I did, then I'm not cutting on the edge where if I were to trim it, it would disassemble the card. Perfect. Look, nobody will ever know that I messed that up. Okay, so what I did to make this pop up on the original card is I used some foam adhesive, and I literally cut it so it's practically the size that's on there. So I took a little square and just kind of went like this, and it's very tedious. Oh. And so it's not that big of a deal. If you don't want to do that, I would just use some of your like liquid adhesive and do it that way, because then you can just control, like if you have a pen style, like maybe something like this, you can kind of control where that liquid adhesive is going to go. You could just do that and follow the Christmas or your sentiment or whatever sentiment it is you use, but it's pretty thin, like that's going to be too thick. And the only reason why I'm doing it is to just kind of case or hide it as much as I possibly can. And then I just like to push down on it. But yeah, this is just like a really boring, takes some time to do, but it's so pretty when you're done. And I love working with, I love blending these inks. They're not the best inks to blend with, watercolors that is, but they do work and they do serve a purpose. So if it's what you have, use it, try it, do it. I totally recommend it. The more you do it, the better it is. If you're heavy-handed, I definitely recommend, you know, practicing, because you know, when I first started, you could like see the circles from my blending tool, and so that was kind of funny. I was like, wait, what? Like the people on YouTube don't do this. Like how are theirs so, you know, and it was just because I had a heavy hand. Okay, so I think that's going to be pretty good, yeah. So I'm just going to kind of press down and make sure this is adhered down, and we'll just take the release paper off. I like to kind of hold it down when I'm doing the release paper, because if I hold it up, then I end up bending my project, because I'm pulling this and this, and then it bends and I get a crease in there and it doesn't look good. At least this way I can sort of hold the project flat and I don't have to worry about it bending. If I'm getting my big old head in here, I'm so sorry. Come on. Oh, low concentration time, right? Almost. Last one, I think. end of my scissors. Nope, I guess I got another one. And my scissors are really good because they're non-stick. So they can kind of take that release paper up enough so that I can pull it off. And then they don't stick to the foam tape. Okay, so we're just going to center this. I see like up here I didn't get as much coverage, probably because I was rushing. See what happens when I rush. So instead of putting it in the center, I guess we'll put it at the top to kind of hide my blender, and we'll just push this down. And there we go. So we have a silver and a white, so or a gold. I definitely like the silver better than the gold if I had to pick a preference, but I definitely think both of them are pretty and beautiful cards in their own self. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I am so happy that I'm able to do these 12 Christmas cards. This was card 7. So maybe like 4 more. So I guess we'll do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. And then I will move on to the November stamp of the month. I think that one's so pretty. All right, you guys have a great night.